Let's just take a look, shall we, at what that now means for the standings. It's turned out to be a brilliant weekend for Manchester City, with all those around them dropping points. For Spurs, they remain second, 2 points clear of Liverpool. Chelsea move up to the top 10 for the first time, it seems, in a very long time. They are 3 points adrift of Manchester United. Former Chelsea defender Mario Melchiot is with us. We'll hear from Mario in a moment.
Where are we going to start, lads?
Well, that was going to be my question to you, Craig Burley. Where do we start?
Well, I think, first of all, I'd say we didn't... it's my view we learned nothing about Chelsea tonight. They got the 3 points, but we learned nothing about them in terms of how much improvement there's going to be. Because it was a non-contest. Spurs hung in there. Chelsea made hard work of it. But that really took the edge off everything. I suppose... Did Spurs players lose their head? I certainly think, and Postecoglou was asked about after the game, was it the Udogie challenge? What sparked this? I think we saw Romero getting too involved, and we've seen it before from this player. He's had a great season. He obviously won the World Cup 12 months ago. He's had a great season alongside Van de Ven. But we saw with a little kick out, which he should have gone for. Petulant or not, you can't do it, right? And you know, he should have been sent off for that kick out. And then his challenge was just crazy because he can play the ball, he can make that challenge without putting the player in the danger that he put Enzo Fernandez in, because he knew what he was doing. He played that ball, he raked his studs right up, halfway up the shin pad. It was forceful, it was, I think it was vicious, there was intent in there, it was over the top, it met every criteria. When Shaka and I looked at it straight away, we went, that's it. And it, as you said, it got worse every time you looked at it.
Listen, to Craig's point, as much as we were talking about Chelsea having won 4-1, Craig said we haven't learned an awful lot about Chelsea. I disagree. I think this Chelsea is worse than this result suggests. Keep in mind...
Oh, shut, that's harsh.
No, hold on. Against nine-man Spurs were the better team for a long period in that second half, and then ran out of gas. So nine-man Spurs, again, I have to underline that. They had the goal chalked off, as Craig mentioned. They had the Betancourt opportunity. Son brings a good save out of Sanchez. Nine-man Spurs. Chelsea 4-1, but it says absolutely nothing, or nothing good to me, how in the game Spurs still were. On the other side of that same coin, I thought Spurs were outstanding. Everything about Postecoglou just continues to impress. We'll see how they cope with the injuries now, because those are our key players that are missing. We've spoken about how important Maddison is. We'll see how long he's out for. At least he was able to leave under his own strength. And then to Craig's point, the Romero challenge. I mean, goodness me. I'm not sure you see many worse challenges in the game today. And this as a red card is not new. We've seen this given as a red card. We've argued for it to be a red card time and time again.
The way the intent, I think the intent and the force that he put behind it, I think that even made it worse, like even what Shaka just emphasized. Because normally winning the ball was not the problem. The problem was not about winning the ball because his timing was on. But then he really purposely pushed through it. And I think that was already, and he was a lucky boy because being on the field, come on, giving a kick to, and it not coming like, we can talk enough about it, but kicking somebody while he's on, while you're on the floor, it is because the referee didn't see it. But if he saw it, he was a lucky boy to still be on it. And if we look at the game, the guys already highlighted, I think also, I agree, Spurs started the game much better. We could see the difference between the two sides, that we had a confident side and a side that is still being built. What did Chelsea do? Because you could see also Pochettinos at the end, not at the end, I think after maybe when they got the first red card, he started talking to them. Why is he talking to them? Because he knew that they were struggling to break that line. The line was that high up and you have that much pace in your team. Why did it took you so long to break the line? Because most of the guys didn't understand it. And sometimes when they broke through the line, some of them, I have to say it, were a little bit greedy instead of setting each other up. Because there were moments they could pass the ball to each other and they still went for their own glory. And I think they have to, it's just like they're really working on getting this understanding going and making sure that they want to set each other up, because it looks way better and it becomes an easier game to win.
Chelsea took so long to break this Spurs side down because they didn't have the brains out there from middle to front to understand how to break such a high line. When you have such a high line, it's all about midfield runners from deep, right? That's what it's about. And when you continually try to get, you know, Sterling, Palmer, Jackson, but Sterling and Jackson in particular, when you continually try to get them in off the shoulder of the last defender, then it's always going to be 50-50. Whereas if you've got a Gallagher or a Fernandes or a Caicedo coming from 10 yards deeper, making good angle runs, they've got 30-40 yards to run into, and they're going to be clearly onside. We saw that at the end. They finally figured it out at the end. About 5 minutes, 10 minutes to go, they figured it out. That's why they had such... I remember having arguments with front guys when this kind of scenario happened, saying, listen, if I see you try to bend a run in there again, we're going to have a fight, right? Because you try to bend a run in there, they're so high up, you're offside. Let a runner go from the middle of the park. Let a runner go from deep, and you just drag the defender out. So that's one of the reasons it took Chelsea such a long time to break them down.
To that point, is it naive of Postecoglou to maintain that high line?
Yeah.
Well, we saw the interview after the game, Postecoglou's to Sky Sports, and it was once again, it was quite entertaining and enlightening into his mentality. His comments to Patrick Davison, the reporter, where when he asked him the question and he said, you know, should you have kept the high line? He went, that is who we are. And that's who we will be. And we have been since the moment I've walked into this football club until the moment I leave. And his quip at the end was, if we were down to 5 or 6 men, he said, we'd still have played the same way. So, look, is it a normal way to do it? The answer is no. You'd normally just park everybody in the box and say, OK, break us down. But that's not what this manager is about. And it's hard to criticise that when he's come in and had such an emphatic change on the style and everybody's buying into it.
I understand what he's saying, but surely you have to be able to react, don't you, as a manager, to what's going on? And we saw Chelsea make that breakthrough a number of times.
But the bottom line is, until right at the end when they were out on their feet, there was, up to 90 minutes, there was the Eric Dyer disallowed goal from the set piece, and there was a Bentancur chance to equalise. So, in that respect, they had hung in for the bulk of the game.
They were competing. They were competing with 9 men up until the last 5 minutes of the game, where inevitably you run out of steam. And the thing I like about this is not just that you miss out on a point. Let's say they somehow get a goal and they draw 2-2 and sit deep to your point and hang on. It says we're not afraid of anybody. It says that even when we're down to 9 men, we're going to be true to the football that has got us this far. We are not going to shirk any kind of challenge. So for sacrificing a point, I think you've sent a far bigger message to that dressing room.
One second, Mario. Tottenham have spent 2 years, maybe 3 years, with 11 men on the field sitting behind the ball.
Yeah.
And we have criticised it. It's been horrible to watch.
I understand, like, his philosophy, the way he plays, and come on, we all agreed already. The way Postecoglou plays is beautiful to watch. You know, anyone that, if you like football, you like the way he wants to play. The only thing I think we must have learned from this situation, in the sense of, like, I don't know if he's always gonna play that high line in the sense of, like, reacting to how the situation is, because keeping his team, I think if they would have scored one of the goals, let's say Son's goal, right? When he breaks through and he has that strike and Sanchez saves it. If one of them would have gone in, he only had, maybe 10 minutes or, I don't know, it was around towards the end. He might have dropped the line, because he was very good in the way he worked his line, because Fikairo, the goalkeeper of Spurs, was incredibly good. Like, we can talk, you know, like how Chelsea could not break that line. Yes, I agree with that. But how he was playing, oh my God. If I have a goalkeeper like that behind me, that every time he was reading the pass that Chelsea was trying to break the line, he was there. Almost like a center defender. And it was incredible to watch, because he stopped maybe 4 or 5 or 6, I don't know how many numbers. And I think that was one of the key things. And away from that, I think for Jackson, guys, he scored 3 times. He should have scored, I think, 5.
Yeah.
Because it looked great, but the last one after he scored a hat-trick, he missed, and the one before the header as a striker. And I'm the guy that said Jackson has the speed, the strength, and everything, but he has to make sure that he keeps on working on that to become the ultimate striker for Chelsea, because goals is all people are going to judge you on.
I think what we saw tonight was a consequence of the horrendous officiating that we've witnessed for a year or two now.
They got everything right, didn't they? With the exception of the Romero, which could have been a red.
Yeah, they did. But I think what we saw was officials absolutely at breaking point, taking so long, too long actually, to be quite frank. I've always said take your time and get it right, but that was
like the Eric
was
goal
crazy.
you could see from the first.
Yeah. But I think it's a consequence of everything else that's gone on, and maybe even a consequence of Arteta's press conference, which we'll get to, from the weekend and all the other stories in the previous weeks, and then the offside goal, the shambles at Tottenham when the Liverpool goal was disallowed, and blah blah blah. And I wonder as well, the stoppages were so long. We've seen a player go off with a hamstring injury, and Mickey van de Ven, who's been absolutely superb. But that's not helping the players either. If you're standing around for prolonged period 2 or 3 times within a half, and then you've all of a sudden got to put the burners on and make a sprint, that can accelerate a potential muscular injury, because you're actually when the VAR are taking such a long look at it, you are kind of just standing around doing nothing. And
I think that's the thing, and that's the frustrating thing, is everything just has to be more efficient. Like, just, obviously they made that massive mistake in the Liverpool match, and they don't want to make it again. But there's got to be an area where we can get this done quickly, efficiently, and correctly.
Yeah, but from a refereeing perspective, is damned if you do, damned if you don't in this situation. Kind of given some of the criticisms of late in trying to get the game restarted quickly. If something is doubtful, you just kind of dismiss it as, well, the ruling on the field stands, and then there's this kind of re-refereeing after, and the criticism that come in the press. That don't help. And to Craig's point, leans into, well, let's make absolutely certain about this. So the game has to decide what they want out of VAR here. Do they want it quick or as accurately as we can get it quickly, or do we want to take our time and be absolutely certain? But you can't ask for one and then criticize that decision when it comes.
Yeah, if you want the game speeded up from the offside point of view, you get the automated offside, which is, as it says, it's automated. But they voted against that in England. We see it in the Champions League, but it's so accurate. What it would mean was, if your big toe was 1 millimetre offside, that would be offside. Right. And in England, they wanted some leeway. So that means we have to draw the lines, and it has to be adjudicated. And so the automated offside is almost a perfect science. But it's going to raise its head to the argument, oh, this is ridiculous, because he's a millimetre or 2 millimetres off his big toe, and they're going to chop it off. No one wins.
The problem is, like, if you look at the first half, Mario, it was 56 minutes long, and we only saw 23 minutes of action. That's a problem. Obviously, that is an issue that needs to be addressed.
It's an issue that they have to tackle really quickly, because some of the players, like, when you play the first half, you don't want to feel like the game is already done. And also, I understand that the people are in the crowd want to see the game and the people at home. But you also have to understand, we want to see high quality, and we want to see players that can play high quality. Van der Ven, you understand, is one of the reasons, one of the injuries picks up. Doesn't want to say that it's identical exactly to the time being, but you don't want to play the game that long for no reason. And I understand they say, when the ball is out or when there's a free kick or whatever, we got to add time. But sometimes they run over time. The first half was way too long for me. And this is a game, I want to make sure that everybody understands it. The Spurs-Chelsea game is a really intense game. I remember myself coming to England and playing this game. Sometimes you walk into the stadium, you feel it. You just feel that. It's a feeling that is very difficult to describe if you play any other game. But when you play a derby, the feeling that goes through your system is like, I really felt like, I said to myself, I played this game a number of times when I was back home. But when I arrived in London and played against the Spurs team, wow, that fight between them, I understood exactly what kicked off. I was actually surprised that so many from different country guys understood it really well. In this game, everybody regardless if Romero got the red card, but he understood what the level of this game was asking. Maybe he went too far, or maybe, he clearly went too far, but he understood how important in London it is, this derby game. It's something else.
Romero cost his side, there's no doubt about it. We can talk about Udogie, more inexperienced, second half, second yellow, but Romero's hunger and thirst almost for going over the top of the ball in these challenges effectively just dishevelled the whole Spurs side. And it's a shame because that first...
How do you harness that? Because obviously you want that bit of edge, you want that fight for you.
Well, you have to tell them you're not playing in the 1970s and 80s. You just can't do it. And I'm all for aggression. I am all for aggression, but as a player when you make a challenge, whether you're going to clean the ball out but keep it low and take a bit of the man, or you're going to clean the ball out and your leg's going to come up and it's going to potentially do some damage. His was the latter. Right, and we've seen him do it. There was a challenge I think it was either earlier this year or last year at Bournemouth that we discussed on here, where it was very similar. He got a bit of the ball, but he went through onto the player's ankle. He's got a history of challenging this way. And I think Postecoglou has to say to him, look, I don't want to take this aggression out of you, but you have a list as long as your arm with these potential challenges. And ultimately that's what dishevelled this Tottenham side. They scored a great goal that went all the way from their goalkeeper, Vicario, out to Maddison in the end in the wide position. He played a great reverse pass. All of a sudden, Tottenham are down the right. They had gone 100 yards almost. And OK, the Kulusevski shot was deflected. But this goal just said, this is going to be a great game. Yeah. It's going to be a huge test for Chelsea. This is what Tottenham's all about. And then Son scores a great goal. It's correctly offside, and then everything just went wrong for Tottenham. And that's not Chelsea's fault. That is Tottenham's fault. It's their players' fault, and no fault of Van de Ven or anybody getting injured. But I go back to it. Stupid challenges have cost this team tonight.
Obviously, Romero will be out for 3 matches. Van de Ven looks like he's in trouble as well. James Maddison. Postecoglou, of course, said it was precautionary. But if you take a look at it, we've got their upcoming matches. And, we don't have their upcoming matches.
Udogie's going to be out as well. Obviously not as long.
So you think this is the first real speed bump, isn't it, for Spurs? And now it's about how you react to that. Yeah,
and look, I don't think Spurs have the squad to go all the way. So this is a huge learning curve once more, if needed, for Ange Postecoglou to say, OK, what have I got? What have I got outside the 12 or 13 or however it is that I've been using? Who's going to come in and play to the standards of, Van de Ven, Udogie at left back, Maddison if he's out for a bit, Richarlison will have to come in, maybe Brennan Johnson will have to play a different position. Who's going to come in from this squad and fill that void? And he's going to learn very quickly whether these players can come in and play the risky football that he wants to play.
So they're just to take you through it, they're at Wolves, home against Villa, and then at Manchester City.
Yeah, listen, the thing for me with this one and the test that will be for Spurs going forward is not the result. Not that you've hit the speed bump and all of a sudden you've lost, and what do you do now given how well things have gone this season? How do you cope with that loss? Is the injuries. I'm less concerned about Spurs and their style of play than I am about how do they fill that void, especially with Maddison if he's out long term. That's an unknown quantity about Spurs that we're yet to discover. But truth be told, Spurs are playing with house money at this point. Nobody expected Spurs to be this high in the table, sitting at this point of the season. Nobody expected Spurs to be playing this kind of football.
They just raised the bar, though, Shaq. Expectations are higher now. If they lose the next 3 games, you're like, oh, where's it all gone wrong?
That's what everybody on the outside is saying. For me, if you're part of that dressing room, you're part of what's happening under Postecoglou, even if you lose 2 or 3 of those games, even if all of a sudden you find yourself just outside the top 4 and looking in, I think you are more bought into, you are more convinced about your ability to compete at the at the highest level with the big boys than you ever thought you would be, and that for me is the bigger takeaway here.
Go on, Mario.
Yeah, but I understand what Chaka's saying, but you also have to remember a new stadium, and you know how the fans they are hungry for success. So the way that the team was building and going through, like, you know, first in the league, and even my mates around me making jokes and cracking, that's was because the confidence is rising while they're up there. I think he like Greg made a great point in saying this is his test. This is the test where we're really gonna see how intelligent and what kind of smart movements he will make. Because look at what Pochettino did. Halftime, who did he take off? He take Colwill off. Why? Because he had a yellow card. He knew the competition that he had, or the fight spirit what he had going on, was not going to be for this derby game, because he was going to get another yellow card. Then he's got another player out. So I think Pochettino is going to have to be really smart and picking the right details in who is he going to play, where is he going to put them, and how is he going to adapt to the situation he's in right now. Because he has to move really quickly, because he's got a great team, but it's when everybody's available. But let's see now what happens when tomorrow away.
Honestly, Maddison obviously has been terrific. Tottenham have been terrific. It's hard to single sort of one player out, but from an attacking sense, he's a kind of guy that gets the headlines. It's clear that, well, it seems clear that Van de Ven is the more serious of the injuries, and I actually think he's the bigger problem. And the reason I say that is because the way Spurs play. I think they'll always get some creativity, be it from Brennan Johnson or Heung-min Son or Richarlison or Bentancur back in the side or back available, he's fit again. Maybe not quite the same as Maddison, but they'll get something. I think the problem comes at the back, Dan, the way because what they do is, clearly we saw it tonight, they play a high line, they push the two full-backs in, and that puts a lot of pressure on the two centre-backs. I've said that from the very first day of the season when we watched his team play away at Brentford. They went, he needs to have centre-halves that can run, because they have to be the insurance policy if the players lose the ball further up the field for that ball over the top. And Van de Ven has been absolutely brilliant at that. He's one of the quickest defenders around, not just in England but across Europe. So he was part of an insurance policy for them losing that ball. That's somewhat gone. You look at the others that might come in there. Eric Dyer's not quick. And who else is going to come in and play centre-back? If Ben Davies is fit again, can he come in and play left-sided centre-back? So this Van de Ven injury is a big problem for the way Spurs want to play in terms of, you know, defending the counter-attack.
Final point to you on this, Mario. Who finishes higher, Spurs or Chelsea? 11 points separate them at the moment.
I mean, no, we have to look at what team is playing better football at the moment, you know. And I have to sad to say Chelsea won, but Spurs is the team that's playing, you know, better football. So let's go from that first. Let's see if Chelsea can play even better than what they did today, because there were some points, you know, some people that I watch Mudryk coming on. I think he still is wrongly placed. He needs to understand to play deeper, so he makes more problem for the defenders instead of asking all the ball in his feet while he's so quick. No, little things like that. I think they got to work on details. While Spurs, at the moment, they are a step ahead of Chelsea. So I will always pick them first.
I don't think we've ever been so mean to a team that won 4-1.